Wow, that's such a cool idea to build. Why didn't I figure it out myself? Let's learn how to build all ghast forms.
Round 1.
I am building a dried ghast today, and I want it to look old, pale, and kind of dusty. So I start with clay blocks. Clay has a soft, natural color and a slightly muted texture, which is good for something that is supposed to look dry instead of fresh and alive. First, I place a square on the ground to mark the size of the whole creature. Starting with a clear footprint helps me control the proportions before the body gets tall and messy. Inside that square, I replace the dirt with light gray concrete and clay in a checkerboard pattern. I do that because one flat color would look too simple. The checkerboard gives the base more texture, and it also makes the ghast feel cracked and aged, like old skin or dried material. Light gray concrete is smoother than clay, so mixing the two blocks creates a nice contrast. It is a very easy design trick. When two materials have close colors but different textures, the surface looks more detailed without becoming noisy. Now, I start the main outline of the dried ghast's body. I keep the shape broad and boxy because ghasts are mostly cube-like, and simple geometry is easier to read from far away. After that, I move up and mark the outline of the head area, so the front has a clear face zone. Even though the body and head blend together a lot on a ghast, I still want the face to feel framed, because viewers always look there first. Then I go to both sides and build the tentacles on the ground out of clay. I let them stretch out instead of hanging down, because this version is dried and not floating. When something is lying low and spread wide, it feels more lifeless, like it has lost all the air and motion inside it. Clay works really well for the tentacles too, because it gives them a stiff, earthy look. If I used bright white blocks here, the shape would feel too clean and too alive for the dried form. On the front, I build the face using gray concrete. I pick gray concrete because facial features should stand out from the skin, but I do not want the contrast to be too strong. Black would look too harsh, and white would disappear into the pale body. Gray is the middle choice, so the face stays readable while still matching the dry look. After placing the face, I start filling the empty spaces around it with clay and light gray concrete. I keep switching between these two blocks instead of using only one because a big flat face can look boring very fast. A mixed surface gives more depth and makes the dried ghast feel weathered. The front of any creature is the most important part, so I spend extra time making sure the colors feel balanced. If the face area is too chaotic, people stop reading the expression. If it is too plain, the build looks unfinished. I am trying to land somewhere in the middle where it still looks simple but not empty. After the front is done, I move along the sides and the back and start filling all the open parts of the body. I use the same clay and light gray concrete mix here, so the whole creature has one clear material language. That matters a lot in design. If the front looked dry but the sides looked smooth and random, the build would feel like different projects stuck together. I also think about volume while I fill these walls. A ghast is basically a floating cube in its normal form, but this dried version should still keep that recognizable mass even while it looks collapsed and stiff. By closing the sides and the back carefully, I make the body read as one solid object instead of a thin frame. The alternating blocks help break up the large surfaces, especially on the back where there are no facial details to carry the design. Big blank walls usually need some texture, and the two pale blocks do that job without ruining the color palette. At the top, I do the same thing and fill the remaining gaps with clay and light gray concrete until the whole dried ghast is closed. The top is easy to ignore, but it matters because people often look down from above in Minecraft. If the roof of the body is unfinished, the whole creature looks fake from one angle. I keep the pattern a little uneven so it feels more natural and less machine-made. Random variation is useful when a build is supposed to look ancient, dry, or worn out. Real weathering almost never forms a perfect pattern. Now, the whole shape feels complete. The checkerboard ground helps the dried ghast feel placed on a special display area. The face reads clearly, and the clay tentacles make it look like it has dropped to the floor and stayed there for a long time. It is not the fanciest ghast ever, but I think the materials tell the story pretty well. This one looks like a ghast raisin, and that is kind of the point. Phew! It took so much effort. Great! My ghast is ready.
Hello.
Hey, Banana Kid, look! I built it. Do you like?
No.
What? Did I make a wrong expression on the face of a dried ghast?
Oh.
It's a pity, but I tried so hard. Maybe then you'll try to build a better ghast yourself?
Yay!
They ran to the place. This is where your building will be. Are you ready?
Yahoo!
Then go ahead.
Round 2.
I am watching Banana Kid start his round, and at first I really do not know what he is making. He begins high above the ground with a white concrete outline shaped like a big cube. White concrete is a strong choice for a floating mob because it looks clean and solid, and its smooth texture makes the outer shell easy to read from far away. Building the body above the ground is already giving me a clue that this thing is supposed to hover, but I still am not fully sure. It could be a cloud box, a giant marshmallow, or some weird flying fridge. The outline itself is important because a frame lets a builder test scale before spending time filling every side. That is smart on large builds. If the proportions look wrong at the outline stage, fixing them is easy. If the whole body is filled in first, changing the shape takes forever. Banana Kid is silent as usual, so I have to guess his plan. And right now, I am just staring at a white box in the sky. Then Banana Kid starts the front, and suddenly I get more information. He builds an open mouth using red, gray, and black wool. That color combination is a very good one for a mouth because each color has a job. Red gives the inside a soft, flesh-like tone. Black adds depth, like a dark opening. And gray helps blend the mouth into the pale face without making the jump too harsh. Wool is also a nice material for organic details because it looks softer than concrete. While working under the body, he fills the bottom with white wool instead of white concrete. That is actually interesting. The concrete frame keeps the edges crisp and stable, but the wool inside makes the ghast feel softer and more ghost-like. Using two white materials with different textures is an easy way to add detail without changing the color. I still had no clue for a moment, but after seeing that mouth, I am starting to think this is probably some kind of angry floating mob. Banana Kid keeps going on the front and starts shaping the rest of the face. He adds small stripes along the sides of the face with gray and light gray wool, and those little lines do more than I expected. They break up the giant white surface and help the face look less flat. Then he builds the eyes using the same group of colors, and the expression starts becoming way clearer. Eyes are usually the part that decides whether a mob looks sleepy, cute, angry, or scary. So getting the shades right matters a lot. Gray and light gray work well because they create form without making the face too dark. He also fills more of the front body with white wool so the head area feels complete and connected to the cube. At this point, I am almost sure what he is doing. The shape is too classic now. This is looking a lot like the normal ghast face, and I probably should have guessed it sooner instead of thinking about floating dessert. Now Banana Kid puts in the dropped eyebrows on the front, and that fully confirms it for me. Yes, this is the regular ghast. Those slanted brows are one of the best features for showing mood because even a simple line can make a square face look upset. In design, eyebrows are tiny pieces, but they control a lot of expression. When the lines angle downward toward the middle, the face instantly feels more intense and more dangerous. Banana Kid does not need many blocks to sell that idea. I like that he keeps using wool on the face instead of switching back to concrete everywhere, because the soft texture makes the mob feel like a floating spirit rather than a hard machine. The front now has a strong focal point. Mouth low, eyes above it, eyebrows pressing down. That arrangement is easy to read even from far away, and that is important in Minecraft, where giant mobs need bold features. I was late, but I have finally caught up with his plan. After the face is set, Banana Kid moves to the right side and fills the body with white wool. Again, that softer texture helps the large side wall avoid looking too stiff. He also builds gray and light gray stripes on this side and adds a few dots. Those extra marks are small, but they matter because side views need details too. If only the front has texture, the build feels unfinished the second you walk around it. A few stripes and spots suggest folds, shadows, or surface variation without making the side too busy. This is a good lesson for large creatures. The side should support the front, not compete with it. Banana Kid keeps the decorations limited, so the face still stays the most important area. The right side also shows a nice balance between structure and softness. The white body reads as one clean volume, while the gray accents stop it from looking like a giant blank cube. For a mob that is mostly one color, that kind of block planning is really useful. Then Banana Kid goes to the back and the top and closes both of those areas with plain white wool. This makes sense because the back of a normal ghast is usually much simpler than the face. Not every side needs the same amount of detail. In fact, too much decoration on the back could distract from the expression on the front. A clean rear surface helps the silhouette stay readable and keeps the creature looking airy and ghost-like. After that, he moves to the left side and repeats the same idea from the right side, with white wool for the main body and gray and light gray marks for texture. Repeating details on both sides is good, because symmetry makes floating mobs feel more stable. If one side had stripes and the other side was empty, the whole build would look lopsided. On creatures with a simple cube body, symmetry is especially important because the form itself is already very strict. Balanced side details help the ghast look intentional and complete instead of rushed. For the final step, Banana Kid goes under the body and builds 9 tentacles from white wool, and he lets them hang all the way down to the ground. This is probably my favorite part because the tentacles are what turn the cube into a ghast. Without them, it is just a face box in the sky. He keeps them thin and fairly long, which is smart because long vertical elements make the body feel like it is floating above them. They also create contrast with the wide cube. Big square body on top, narrow lines below. That shape language is simple, but it is exactly what makes the mob recognizable. I like that the tentacles touch the ground here, because it makes this version feel extra large and dramatic, like a ghast that has drifted low over the land. Wool is a good pick for them too, since it keeps the whole build soft and ghostly. So yes, Banana Kid tricked me for a while, but in the end, he made a very clear and very classic normal ghast.
Where did everyone run off to? Hey guys, what's all that noise?
Banana Kid and I are building ghast, JJ. Who did it better?
Oh, both of your buildings look great, but I think it's up to the audience to decide who did the best.
Yes, JJ, you're right. Maybe then you have comments on the construction of Banana Kid?
No, his ghast looks just great.
I totally agree with you, JJ. Maybe you will build ghast.
Okay, then let's run to the place as soon as possible.
JJ, good luck to you. We'll wait in the house.
Thanks, guys. Then I'm starting. Round 3. I am building a tamed ghast, and I begin high above the ground because elevation is part of the idea. A tamed ghast should still feel airborne, free, and separate from the terrain below. If I built the body too low, the creature would lose that floating identity before any details were added. I start with a large cube outline in white concrete. White concrete is an excellent structural choice for the main body because it has a clean surface, a bright color, and very clear edges. The cube shape is also important. Ghasts are defined by a simple geometric mass, and that simplicity makes them easy to recognize even from far away. By building the outline first, I can test height, width, and proportion before committing to every wall. This is a useful building habit on large sculptures. A strong frame acts like a sketch in 3 dimensions. It lets me confirm that the creature will feel large enough to carry extra features later, including armor, a seat, and even a small house on its back. After the frame is correct, I use commands to fill the sides of the cube with white concrete. Commands are very helpful when the task is large and repetitive because they save time without changing the design decisions. The artistic part is still mine. I decide the size, shape, and material. The command simply handles the repetition with precision. On a giant build like this, fast filling also helps me evaluate the whole volume sooner. Once the walls are complete, I can judge whether the ghast has the right visual weight in the sky. White concrete keeps the body clean and readable, and that is especially useful because more detailed elements will sit on top of it later. The main body needs to act like a calm background. If the base material were noisy or heavily textured, the armor and house would be harder to read. Filling all sides evenly also makes the creature feel solid from every angle, which is important for a floating build that viewers may circle around in free camera. With the body complete, I move to the front and shape the mouth and facial stripes using light gray concrete. I choose light gray instead of dark tones because a tamed ghast should appear friendlier than a hostile one. The features still need contrast, but the contrast should be gentle. Light gray sits softly against white, creating expression without making the face look aggressive. The mouth gives the creature character and helps preserve the ghast identity, while the facial stripes break up the broad front plane. Large blank surfaces often need a few lines or forms to suggest structure and prevent the face from looking flat. In visual design, even subtle tonal changes can guide the eye very effectively. I place the features carefully so the face reads clearly from below as well as from the front, because this ghast is in the air, and players may look up at it from different angles. A believable flying creature needs a face that remains readable no matter where the viewer stands. Next, I add one of the key signs that this ghast is no longer wild. I build glasses on the face using dark oak planks and light blue glass panes. The dark oak planks work well as frames because they are sturdy, dark enough to stand out, and warm in tone. That warmth softens the creature and makes it feel more personal. The light blue glass panes act like lenses. Panes are the right choice here because they are thin and elegant, much closer to real glasses than full glass blocks. The pale blue color also suggests a calm, friendly look and pairs nicely with the white body. This is a good example of how small accessories can tell a big story. A pair of glasses immediately changes the personality of the mob. It begins to feel thoughtful, domesticated, and almost scholarly. Design is often about signals. A few well-chosen blocks can tell the viewer how to feel about a character long before any house or armor is added. After establishing the face, I begin constructing the gear that shows this ghast can be ridden and protected. I use andesite, lime wool, and brown wool to build armor and a seat on its body. Each material has a different purpose. Andesite gives a sturdy, stone-like texture that feels durable and protective. Lime wool adds a bright accent color that suggests special equipment or magical padding. Brown wool reads naturally as leather, so it is ideal for the seating area and straps. Mixing these materials creates layers, and layers make equipment feel believable. If I built the entire harness from one block, it would look flat and unfinished. I place the first sections carefully so they wrap around the ghast, instead of floating awkwardly on top of it. Good armor design follows the form beneath it. Even in Minecraft, equipment looks more convincing when it appears attached to the body's volume rather than stuck on as random decoration. I continue the armor and seat across each side and over the top so the harness feels complete from every angle. This is important because a rideable creature needs equipment that looks secure. If only the front had straps or plating, the design would not feel functional. I want the viewer to believe that the saddle system could actually stay in place during flight. The andesite sections give a protective shell, while the lime wool keeps the gear visually lively and easy to read against the white body. Brown wool remains in the seat areas because leather-like textures make practical sense where a rider would sit or hold on. On the top, I place a wooden fence as a small handle or support point. A fence is narrow, vertical, and easy to grip visually, so it works very well as a railing element. This whole assembly teaches a useful design lesson. Functional-looking details become stronger when materials reflect their imagined job. With the harness in place, I begin the most unusual feature of the build, a house on the ghast's back. To start, I use cobblestone for the base. Cobblestone is a strong foundational block because it looks heavy and reliable, which is exactly what I want for the lower part of a small house. A house needs a base that feels anchored, even if that base is resting on a flying creature. Then I add dark oak wood as the support pillars. Dark oak has a rich color that contrasts nicely with the pale ghast and the gray cobblestone. It also reads as a sturdy timber material. Pillars are important in architecture because they create a visible load path. They show the eye how the roof and upper structure are being held up. Even in Minecraft, this makes a small building feel more believable. By combining cobblestone and dark oak, I get a classic rustic look that stands apart from the smooth ghast body while still feeling organized and compact. Now I shape the roof using dark oak and spruce stairs and slabs. Stairs and slabs are excellent roofing tools because they create slope and edge detail without making the top too bulky. A proper roof shape helps a house look finished and also improves the silhouette from far away. I mix dark oak and spruce so the roof has depth instead of becoming one flat brown mass. Using two related wood tones is a simple way to add richness while keeping the palette controlled. At the front of the house, I place a flower bed. This small garden detail softens the stone and wood and makes the home feel lived in. Flowers are useful in design because they add color, scale, and warmth all at once. At the entrance, I install doors so the house reads as a true dwelling and not just a decorative box. An obvious entrance always helps a structure feel functional, inviting, and easy for viewers to understand. Inside the house, I continue the structure by adding the upper floor and finishing more wall sections with cobblestone. Dividing the interior into levels makes the little home feel much more useful. Vertical layering is one of the best ways to increase function when a building footprint is small. A second floor gives room for sleeping, storage, or study without forcing the house to spread too far across the Ghast's back. I use cobblestone again for the remaining walls because repeated material keeps the interior consistent with the outside shell. Consistency is very important in small homes. If too many materials appear in a tiny space, the room starts to feel cluttered and confusing. Stone walls also frame furniture nicely, since most furniture pieces show up better against a calm, neutral background. Finishing the enclosure before decorating is another good habit. Complete walls define the space clearly, and that makes interior planning much easier and much more believable. Outside the house, I add a tree and grow it so the back of the Ghast feels like a tiny floating homestead instead of only a platform with a cabin. A tree is a powerful design element because it adds height, life, and an organic shape that contrasts with all the cubes and straight lines. That contrast is helpful here. The Ghast body is a big, clean volume, and the house uses strong geometric forms, so the natural branching shape of the tree brings balance. I also make small farm rows and plant wheat. Wheat is a good crop choice because its height is moderate, its color becomes warm and lively, and it clearly reads as food production. This turns the back into a self-sustaining little home. It tells a story about peaceful life in the air. Even in fantasy builds, practical details such as farming and greenery make the scene feel more complete because they show how a character or space could actually be used over time. It is high time for furniture. Inside the house, I place a bed, a nightstand, and a lamp so the sleeping area feels comfortable and clear. These pieces establish the room's most basic daily function, which is rest. I also add anvils with leaves to create decorative plant stands because mixing hard industrial shapes with soft greenery is a neat way to get contrast in a compact space. Then I place armor stands with armor, which gives the house a sense of readiness and adventure. Bookshelves and an enchanting table turn the interior into more than a bedroom. They suggest study, magic, and personality. Finally, I put a carpet on the floor. Carpet is very important in small rooms because it visually ties the furniture together and makes the interior feel warmer. Ready-made furniture from the mod helps the house look polished, but the real design choice is placement. I arrange everything so the room stays readable, cozy, and not overcrowded despite the limited space. For the final exterior detail, I build the tentacles under the Ghast from white concrete. I do not let them reach all the way to the ground because this creature needs to keep its floating illusion. If the tentacles touch the land, the Ghast would seem supported by the earth instead of hovering freely in the sky. I also angle them slightly backward rather than hanging them perfectly straight down. That small shift creates a feeling of motion, as if the Ghast is drifting forward through the air and the tentacles are trailing behind. This is a simple but effective physics trick in visual design. Even when blocks are static, direction and tilt can imply movement. I use white concrete so the tentacles match the body and remain clean and easy to read from below. With the floating tentacles, the harness, the glasses, and the house on top, the whole build now tells a complete story. This is no wild monster. This is a calm flying companion with a real home above the clouds. Great, my ghast is ready. It's time for me to show it to the guys.
Wow, JJ, you've got such a beautiful ghast, you can never get off it.
Thank you guys. I am very glad that you liked my building. Friends, be sure to write in the comments whose building you liked the most. Well, I think it's time for us to finish.
Yes, JJ, you're right.
Subscribe and like. Bye-bye.